They really left me, I whispered, staring at the blinking departure screen. Flight 706 to Cancun. Gate closed. The air conditioning blasted too cold. My carry-on bag slipped from my shoulder as I stood frozen in place, watching the plane that held my family disappear into the sky, without me. I reached for my phone. No missed calls. No texts. Just a message from Mom, sent 10 minutes before boarding. You'll understand one day. We needed a break from your moods. That was it. The terminal lights flickered above me as a little boy ran past, dragging a stuffed dolphin, his parents laughing close behind. I stood alone, my heart thudding so loud I could barely hear the announcements. And then, I smiled. A strange, calm smile. They had no idea. Not yet. My name is Aubrey Taylor, and I was 24 when I got left behind like forgotten luggage. I'm not dramatic. Not usually. But when your own family decides you're not worth a seat on the plane, it stings in places you didn't even know were still raw. I grew up in Charleston, South Carolina, in a colonial-style house that looked perfect from the outside. White pillars, flower beds, wraparound porch. But if you peeled back the paint, you'd find cracks. So many cracks. My parents, Elaine and Robert, were all about appearances. Mom was the PDA queen, always in pearl earrings and expensive perfume. Dad was a partner in a prestigious law firm downtown. And me? I was their quirky daughter. The one who read books at dinner and cried at rescue dog videos. The one they'd always say needed toughening up. They had another daughter, Claire, 2 years younger. Claire was the golden child. Flawless grades, endless cheer competitions, the perfect Instagram smile. She inherited Mom's jawline and Dad's charm. I inherited Grandma Lucy's wide nose, the freckles, and a stubborn sense of justice that never sat well in a house full of pretenders. When I was 14, I won a regional poetry contest. I was glowing. Mom didn't even come to the award ceremony. She said, "Poetry doesn't pay bills, sweetheart. Focus on something real." That stuck with me for years. Even when I got into NYU on scholarship for English Lit, they acted like it was some cute little phase. Claire was pre-med, naturally. She got a brand new car senior year of high school. I was still driving Dad's dented old Civic with no AC. Still, I tried to stay close. I called home every Sunday. Sent gifts on birthdays. Came down every Thanksgiving, even though the jokes around the table always landed on me. Aubrey, still dating fictional men? Hey, maybe you can write us a poem about dish duty. I smiled through it. All of it. I kept telling myself they meant well. Last summer, things began to shift. I was actually doing okay. I'd been promoted at the independent publishing house I worked at. I was ghostwriting a memoir for a mid-tier celebrity chef, and my boss was talking about putting me on their editorial board. So when Mom casually brought up the family trip to Mexico in our group chat, I didn't flinch. Just a little getaway. Nothing fancy, Aubrey. Just us. We need some sunshine. She said us, not them. She asked me for my passport info, and even sent a screenshot of the resort. I felt included. Really included for once. I worked overtime to wrap my deadlines. I bought a new swimsuit, something red and strappy and brave. I was ready to not be the odd one out for once. But signs started showing. Claire sent a text the week before the trip. "Did Mom tell you we're flying from Atlanta instead of Charleston?" No. She didn't. I scrambled. Had to reschedule my Amtrak ticket to connect with their new plan. Then, at the airport, everything was off. They were already checked in when I arrived. No hugs. Claire rolled her eyes when I asked for help with my suitcase. I brushed it off. Told myself I was being paranoid. At the security line, I handed over my boarding pass. The agent scanned it. Frowned. "This pass isn't valid," he said. "What?" I blinked. There must be a mistake. But there wasn't. My name wasn't on the passenger list. I turned around, and my family was gone. Just gone. At first, I panicked. Called Mom. No answer. Called Dad. Voicemail. Claire texted back a shrug emoji. I waited by the gate until they called final boarding. Nothing. Then the text from Mom came. "You've been difficult lately. We didn't want drama on this trip. We'll talk when we're back. That was it. Not even a real explanation. Just an erasure. I cried. In the airport Starbucks. In front of strangers. I'm not ashamed to admit it. But after about an hour of pain, something changed. I remembered something my grandma Lucy once said to me. Sometimes, baby, the best thing they can do is leave you behind. That's how you figure out who you really are. Grandma Lucy was the only one in my family who ever understood me. She used to sneak me honey cakes and let me sleep at her den when I felt invisible at family dinners. She passed away when I was 19, but her voice still echoed inside me like a lighthouse in fog. That night, I went back to my apartment in Charleston. I didn't answer their calls. Not that there were many, but I did start planning. See, what they didn't know was that I had access to the group travel booking. Mom had used my email once to send over itinerary docs. I still had the link. And what they really didn't know, I had a little money saved up, book royalties and editing side gigs no one knew about. They assumed I was always broke. But I wasn't. I opened my laptop. The return flight was 5 days away. I stared at it for a while. Then I clicked Manage Booking. The screen asked, Modify reservation? I smiled. Oh, I was going to modify everything. I spent the next 3 days living like a ghost in my own city. Quiet, focused, determined. I didn't tell anyone what happened. Not my coworkers, not my friends. I needed time to think. Not just about the betrayal, but about what it meant. Why did it hurt so badly? And why now did I feel something stronger than hurt? Power. They left me behind. Treated me like dead weight. But they had no idea. I held the strings. By the second day, I had logged into the group booking account. All 4 return tickets were there. Dad, Mom, Claire, and 1 ghost passenger, me. Apparently, the travel agent had left my name in the return reservation. A glitch? A mistake? A little poetic justice? Didn't matter. All I had to do was confirm ownership of the booking. I clicked through the prompts. Updated the email address. Changed the password. Reassigned admin access. Suddenly, the entire itinerary belonged to me. My fingers trembled over the keyboard. I stared at their return flight. Cancun, Atlanta, Charleston, July 16th, 8:45 a.m. 3 days from now. That night, I bought myself a one-way ticket to Cancun on a different airline, different flight. First class. Paid with the freelance money I'd been saving for a rainy day. And let me tell you, the clouds had burst. July 15th. When I arrived at the resort, the sun was sinking over the sea, casting a warm orange hue on the manicured beach. I walked in through the front lobby with my suitcase rolling behind me. The bellhop opened the glass door. No one even questioned me. They had no idea that the girl who'd been too dramatic to join the trip had just walked in wearing sunglasses and confidence like armor. I didn't go straight to them. I watched from afar at first, through the glass of the beachside bar. Claire was lying on a lounger, scrolling on her phone. Mom was sipping something pink from a tall glass, complaining to a waiter. Dad stood nearby in his Hawaiian shirt, pretending to read the newspaper. They looked happy. I gave myself a few minutes to absorb it. Then I walked over. Mom's drink froze halfway to her lips. Claire's jaw dropped. Dad took off his sunglasses like he wasn't sure he believed what he was seeing. Hi, I said, setting my bag down beside them. Miss me?
Claire was the first to speak.
What the hell are you doing here? Relax, I said. I just came to deliver something. I pulled a small envelope from my tote and handed it to my father. What is this? He asked. Just a copy of the return itinerary, I said. I made a few changes. His brow furrowed. Changes?
Yup.
I own the reservation now. You'll want to check your email. Mom snatched her phone and opened the app. Her face went pale. Claire jumped up. You canceled the flights?
No, Claire.
I rerouted them. I added some extra layovers. One of them is in New Jersey, I think. Airport food's great there. And I did cancel one seat. She stared at me. Mine. I leaned forward, voice calm and soft. I'm not coming back with you. Dad started to say something, but I cut him off. I used the miles to upgrade my seat. First class for you, Mom. But here's the thing, if you want to check in, you need the QR codes. And I have them. I held up my phone. Now, I'll give them to you, I said, but I thought maybe we could have a little talk first. We sat at one of the beach cafe tables.
They didn't argue yet.
Dad tried to play it cool. Mom tried the guilt angle. Aubrey, this isn't funny. You're acting out. You know how hard we work. This trip was for everyone. I tilted my head. Everyone except me?
Claire jumped in.
You were acting weird. Negative. We didn't want you ruining the energy. I nodded slowly.
Ah, so you lied.
Made me think I was part of something. Then ghosted me. But I'm the dramatic one. Dad sighed. You're twisting this. No, I said, leaning back. I'm finally untwisting it. I stood and pointed out toward the water. Do you see that? The ocean doesn't beg to be loved. It just is. It takes up space. I'm done apologizing for doing the same. They were stunned into silence. Then I dropped the final line. You left me behind. So I bought the return tickets. Now you'll remember what it feels like to be at someone else's mercy. I spent the rest of the evening sipping a drink at the rooftop bar. I let them sweat. Let them realize I wasn't the same girl they dismissed at the airport. They had always believed that kindness equaled weakness, that my silence meant submission. But now I held the key to the return. And for the first time, they couldn't control the narrative. The next morning, I didn't rush to find them. I let them come to me. I was by the pool, reading a novel and sipping a coconut smoothie when Mom stormed over, sunglasses perched on her head, her voice sharp but hushed. Aubrey, this has gone far enough. Give us the boarding passes.
Now.
I didn't even look up. I said we'd talk. I didn't say when. This isn't a game.
She was trying to stay composed.
But her hands were trembling slightly, the same hands that used to hold Claire's hair back while she threw up after parties, while mine were left to braid my own for school dances. You're right, I said, calmly folding a corner of my page. It's not a game. It's a mirror. Dad arrived a few minutes later, more composed, trying the diplomatic route. We made a mistake. Maybe it wasn't the best decision to leave you, but this isn't helping anyone. I turned toward him, shaded my eyes. You didn't make a mistake, Dad. You made a choice. Don't confuse the two. You were emotional, difficult to travel with. Was I? Or did I just stop shrinking myself to fit the version of me you're comfortable with? He sighed deeply. You're twisting this again. Claire finally showed up halfway through the conversation, wearing a swim cover-up and an expression I'd seen 100 times before, smug detachment. You're just mad we didn't invite you. You're being psycho. I chuckled. Claire, I was on the original booking. You do realize I was supposed to be here, right? She flipped her hair. Then act like it. Not like some Netflix villain. And there it was. The gaslighting. The deflection. The attempt to make me feel unworthy again. But something shifted in me right then. I stood up. Not quickly, not dramatically. Just deliberately. You know what I think, I said, stepping in just close enough to lower my voice. You all like me small, quiet, acceptable. You liked the version of me who begged to be included. But she's gone. And now, you have to deal with the version who doesn't beg, who doesn't forget. Mom opened her mouth, but I held up a finger. Let me finish. I looked at all three of them. My voice didn't shake. I was the one who reminded you of birthdays. I sent Grandma's old banana bread recipe when Claire moved into her dorm and cried over homesickness. I fixed the TV when you broke it. I ran errands when you were too tired. I booked this damn trip when none of you could figure out the travel app. I stepped back. And what did you do? You left me behind like a forgotten suitcase. And now you're mad I unpacked. Silence. Thick, uncomfortable, earned. Later that afternoon, my cousin Emma messaged me on Instagram. OMG, are you really at the same resort? Claire posted a story, then deleted it. Emma had always been one of the few extended family members who saw me. She was quieter than Claire, more thoughtful. She was the only person who checked in after Grandma Lucy died. I told her everything. And Emma, God bless her, spilled some tea in return. Your mom said you were unstable, that you needed therapy. That's why they didn't bring you. That was the narrative they'd built. I wasn't left behind. I was excluded for my own good. A subtle assassination of character, hidden under the mask of care. My jaw clenched as I read the messages. But oddly, I wasn't angry. I felt clear, like fog lifting.
This was never about me.
It was about them, their control, their story, and they couldn't write me out of it anymore. That night, there was a thunderstorm over the ocean. I stood on the balcony of my suite. Yes, suite, I upgraded myself and watched lightning crack across the horizon. And just as I turned back inside, there was a knock at the door. It was Dad. He looked older than he had the day before, like someone who realized the world no longer orbited around him. He handed me a folded piece of paper, his boarding pass. Do whatever you want with it, he said. Just don't disappear. Your mother's upset. Claire's furious. But me? I'm just thinking. I opened the door wider and gestured toward the empty chair across the room. Then sit. We talked. Not like father and obedient daughter. Like two humans who'd hurt each other, one knowingly, the other silently. He admitted they didn't know how to deal with me growing up, that I didn't fit the family image, that my softness embarrassed him. I told him that his embarrassment cost me years of therapy and a self-worth crisis. There were no apologies. Not yet. But there was a shift. The next morning, Claire knocked on my door.
I didn't invite her in.
So are you going to give us the passes or what? She asked, arms crossed.
No.
She blinked.
What?
I gave Dad his. If you want yours, ask him.
She scoffed.
You're seriously going to hold this over us? I stepped closer, my voice calm. I'm not holding anything. I'm letting go. You can twist this however you like, Claire. But here's the truth. I'm done chasing a family that keeps changing the locks. She rolled her eyes and left, but I knew my words hit something. She didn't slam the door. She walked away quietly. By the time the flight day arrived, only Dad had a digital boarding pass. Claire and Mom were still locked out. But the passes were in his inbox. I left them that morning with a simple note under their door. Family isn't built on blood. It's built on respect. If you find yours again, maybe we'll talk. Aubrey. I checked into a new resort across the island. Booked myself 3 extra days. Woke up when I wanted. Read 3 novels. Ate fish tacos under a mango tree.
Took selfies.
Sent one to Emma. Sent another to my boss, who replied, "You deserve the hell out of that view." I smiled. They had finally left me behind again. But this time it was exactly what I wanted. They walked into the resort's open-air lobby like they hadn't just emotionally nuked their daughter. My mother wore her favorite sun hat, the one she bought just for the pictures, and Dad had a drink in his hand, already. They looked tan, relaxed, and happy. My stomach twisted at the sight. I stood directly in their path. Mom spotted me first. She flinched. Dad's face paled. Claire? What the hell? How did you? You left me, I said, my voice calm, deadly still. And now you have no way home. What are you talking about? Mom asked, her voice tight, trying to smile like everything was fine. We texted you. Oh yeah, I cut in. The message where you said you needed a break from my moods. That one. Dad's voice turned low. This isn't the time or place for this. Let's go upstairs and talk.
No.
Let's talk here, I snapped. A few tourists glanced over. I didn't care. Do you even realize what you did? You abandoned your daughter in an airport. Alone. No explanation. No check-in. You turned a family vacation into a betrayal. We didn't abandon you, Mom whispered, defensive now. You've just been difficult lately. We thought maybe some space. You thought? My eyes burned. What kind of parents think it's okay to ditch their child without a single warning? Dad gritted his teeth. Don't be dramatic.
You're 18.
You've been acting like a child. This was a wake-up call. Oh, it was, I said, smiling again. It woke me right up. And guess what I did while you were sipping piña coladas and posting your little vacation reels? They didn't answer, just stared. I bought your return tickets, I said. You know, those non-refundable ones you used my college savings for?
Yeah.
I called the airline, explained the situation. Told them I was the one who paid for the family flights, which I was. Dad's eyes widened. Claire. And I canceled them, I said flatly. Bought 2 new ones. In my name. One for me. One for Grandma. Grandma? Mom repeated. You called her? She was shocked, I said, narrowing my eyes. Apparently, you told her I didn't want to come. That I refused the trip. We didn't say. Don't lie to me, I said, my voice rising. I have the voicemails she left. You lied to cover your tracks. Dad put his drink down. We just needed a break from your constant complaining, your attitude. You think the world revolves around you. No, I snapped, stepping closer. You think your world is better without me in it. And for the last 3 days, you lived like that. So now, maybe you'll find your way home the same way I found my own way here alone. Mom's voice broke. Claire, wait. Don't, I said, eyes locked on hers. Don't call me dramatic. Don't act like this is some learning lesson. You're not going to emotionally abandon me, then cry when I stop playing your perfect daughter. There was silence. The concierge awkwardly shifted behind the desk. I picked up my bag and turned. Enjoy your stay. And I walked away. I didn't expect them to follow me, but they did. About 20 minutes after I stormed off, I was sitting by the infinity pool, half hiding behind a pair of oversized sunglasses and pretending not to check if they'd appear. That's when I heard a familiar voice. Claire, Dad said, not as sharp this time, more human. I didn't respond. Mom came around the other side, a towel draped over her shoulder like she was pretending we were just having a casual family chat. We didn't know you'd actually come all the way here. I took a sip of my drink. Why wouldn't I? I've always been more capable than you give me credit for. Dad looked away. You've made your point. Loud and clear. Oh, don't worry. I'm not done making it yet.
They didn't laugh.
Neither did I. But then Mom sat beside me and quietly said something I never thought I'd hear from her lips. We were wrong. I turned. Sure, I misheard. What? We were wrong, she repeated.
About how we handled this.
About how we've handled a lot of things. You were never the problem. We just didn't know how to deal with you becoming your own person. Dad exhaled hard. You've always been so independent. You challenge everything. We started seeing you as opposition, instead of our daughter. I didn't reply. Do you know how we met? Dad asked suddenly. Your mom and I? College. First day of freshman year. We were both broke, both terrified of screwing everything up. We promised that if we ever had kids, we'd give them the life we never had. You broke that promise, I said flat. I know. Somewhere along the line, we forgot that giving you everything didn't mean control. It meant trusting you, believing in you. I raised an eyebrow. So now what? A teary apology and you expect me to book your flights again? No, Mom said softly. We're not asking that. We just wanted to say sorry. And to tell you something else. She pulled something from her tote bag and handed it to me. An envelope. I opened it cautiously. Inside was a letter. Handwritten. It was from my grandma. I read the first line and felt my heart stop. My sweet Claire, if you're reading this, it means your parents finally told you the truth. I looked up. What is this? Mom blinked back tears. She left something for you. In her will. I froze. She passed away 2 weeks before this trip. We didn't tell you because we didn't know how. She left a trust fund in your name. Specifically for travel, art school, and anything that gave you freedom. She always said you had wings we didn't understand. I clutched the letter. My throat tightened. You kept this from me? We thought we were protecting you, Dad said. We didn't want you to grieve right before a trip you were excited about. And yes, we handled it wrong. All of it. I stared at the words in Grandma's neat cursive. She believed in you, Claire, Mom said. Even when we didn't. For a moment, Silence settled around us like a warm breeze. The anger didn't vanish, but something shifted. Not forgiveness. Not yet. But a crack in the wall. I folded the letter and placed it gently in my bag. She believed in me, I repeated. Maybe it's time I start believing in myself too. And with that, the conversation ended. But something new had just begun. The next day felt different. It wasn't like everything had healed overnight, but something had cracked open, not just in them, but in me. I woke up in my upgraded suite, sunlight spilling through gauzy curtains, the ocean humming in the distance, like some kind of cosmic reset button. And for once, I didn't feel like an afterthought. I felt like the main character. My parents didn't hover after our conversation. They respected my space, maybe for the first time in years. Claire, on the other hand, stayed icy. She passed me in the buffet line with a scoff and zero eye contact, which was fine. I wasn't doing this for her. I spent that morning kayaking with a local guide, laughing for the first time since I landed. I didn't think once about my parents until I came back to a small note slipped under my door. Your flight is in 2 days. The decision is yours. Either way, thank you for reminding us who you are. Mom and Dad. They attached the rebooked tickets, this time, all 3 names included. Seats together. A part of me softened. But I also remembered how easy it had been for them to erase me. Just days ago, they had conspired to leave me behind like I didn't matter. They didn't get to pretend it never happened. So I sat down that night and wrote my own note. Thanks for the tickets.
I'll pass.
I extended my stay a week. I want to explore on my terms. You go back to Charleston and tell people whatever story you want. I know mine now. Claire. The look on their faces when I handed it to the concierge and asked him to deliver it? Priceless. I didn't need to be cruel. That wasn't the point. The revenge wasn't fire. It was frost. It was silence where they expected surrender. It was independence where they hoped for compliance. I booked a tour through the jungle, visited Mayan ruins, and had dinner with strangers who didn't see me as too much or too sensitive, just curious, adventurous, bold. On my 5th night, I ran into Emma, my cousin. She had flown in after seeing my post online. You actually inspired me, she said, hugging me tightly. I was so scared to do things alone. But you're out here living. We ended up spending 2 amazing days together, and for the first time, I didn't feel like a glitch in someone else's family system. I felt like the architect of my own life. On their flight day, I stood on the balcony and watched the shuttle drive away. I imagined them sitting quietly, maybe regretting more than just the missed connection. Maybe regretting all the years they never asked who I really was. But I wasn't waiting for their regret anymore. I was already looking forward. That night, I lit a small candle at the beach, just for Grandma. I whispered, "You were right. They did me a favor. I found myself here because they left me." The wind carried my words out into the ocean. And just like that, I smiled because I finally knew the best revenge wasn't taking something back. It was never needing it in the first place. 3 months later, I was back in Charleston, but nothing about me was the same. The girl who used to tiptoe around her family's moods had vanished somewhere between the Caribbean sands and my decision to stay. I had returned when I was ready, and not a moment before. And when I walked into the next family dinner, heads turned. Claire raised an eyebrow at my new short haircut, my sun-kissed skin, and the tattoo that peeked out from under my blouse. A tiny compass, a symbol of the new direction I'd chosen. My mother tried to act like everything was normal. "Sweetheart, how was the rest of the trip?" she asked with a brittle smile. "It was incredible," I said flatly. "A lot better without the guilt." My dad cleared his throat. "We've been meaning to talk about that, the whole situation. It wasn't our finest moment." I nodded. "You're right. It wasn't." I didn't let them off the hook. I didn't explode either. I just stayed still. Present. Powerful. When they asked me what I was doing next, I said it clearly. I'm moving to Austin. I got a new job, and I'm finally investing in myself. There was a pause at the table. You could feel the energy shift, because for the first time, they weren't calling the shots. I was. No more emotional leashes. No more second-guessing. No more apologizing for simply being who I was. As I left that night, my mom hugged me tighter than usual. Maybe she finally saw me, not as her daughter who needed managing, but as a woman who had forged fire from abandonment. She whispered, "You were braver than I ever gave you credit for." I didn't respond right away. I just smiled, stepped back, and walked toward the future I built, not from revenge, but from rebirth. Because the truth is, when your parents leave you behind, you can either chase after them, or you can turn around and walk into your own legend. And I chose the legend. Looking back now, I don't carry bitterness, just a quiet clarity. What my parents did on that trip hurt me
Deeply.
It wasn't just the plane tickets or the logistics. It was the message behind it that I was somehow less important, less valued. Like a last-minute passenger in my own family. But pain can be alchemy if you let it. That betrayal became the very thing that forced me to re-examine everything. Who was I living for? Why did I always need their approval to feel worthy? And what would happen if I simply stopped asking for it? The night I bought their return tickets, it wasn't about revenge. It was a turning point, a spiritual stake in the ground that whispered, "You deserve better," even if no one hands it to you. Since then, my life has unfolded in unexpected and liberating ways. I laugh louder. I sleep better. I take myself out to dinner and don't wait for company. I say no without apologizing. I've started writing again, something I gave up years ago to be more practical. And now, ironically, my blog about emotional independence has gone viral more than once. I don't know if my parents will ever fully understand what that experience did to me, or for me. But I no longer need them to. We speak.
We meet sometimes.
They've softened.
So have I.
But we both know there's a boundary now, a sacred one, built from that summer's ashes. And honestly, I'm grateful. Not for the pain, but for the awakening. Because if they hadn't left me behind, I would have never learned to choose myself. So now, whenever I board a plane, step into a new city, or take a risk that scares me, I remember that girl at the airport, hurt, confused, but bold enough to swipe her card and rewrite her story. And I thank her. She didn't just buy return tickets. She bought freedom. The screen fades in. A glowing sunset spills across the Miami tarmac, planes rising into the sky like silver arrows chasing their destinies. I'm standing just outside Terminal D, suitcase by my side, wind teasing my hair. The same airport where everything changed. Except this time, I'm not waiting for anyone. I turn, and behind me walks a quiet, confident version of myself, one that no longer seeks to be chosen, because she already chose herself. A cab pulls up. The driver leans out and asks, "Where to?" I smile. Wherever the next chapter begins. Cut to a montage, flashes of moments from the past year. Me, sipping coffee alone in Paris, sketchbook open beside a croissant. Me, laughing with strangers on a hiking trail in Oregon. Me, deleting an old voicemail from my mom, then calling her right back, just to say I'm okay. Me, booking a one-way ticket to Tokyo with my own savings. A new rhythm, a new story, not to punish the past, but to honor the girl who waited and learned never to wait again. Final shot. The camera pulls back as my cab merges into the glowing city lights. Soft music plays, something light, something brave. Voiceover. They may have left me behind, but I moved forward. And sometimes, that's the greatest journey of all. Fade to black.